The first set of questions will be about equity, diversity, and inclusion. As president, I have prioritized equity, diversity, and inclusion. This semester, the ASGCC is more diverse than it has been in the last 5 years, with over 35% of the officers being students of color. But we still have to go further since 50% of GCC students are students of color. What specific steps will you take to recruit more diverse candidates? And are you willing to publicly commit today to select senators that are representative of the diversity at GCC? I will begin with Garik.
I am planning on making AS even more diverse than it actually is now. In my opinion, we are all different and unique in every way. No one person is like another. We all come from different backgrounds, but in order to create a diverse community, we need to join in as one. Equity is extremely important in a diverse and inclusive community. I plan to execute my plan in being the change alongside my team and my community by ensuring that my team and I represent those who need the platform to do so. We do not want to raise your voice for you. We want you to raise your voices and your concerns and us to be with you. I plan to do this through our platform. Whether it is through social media, our events, our clubs, or our governance committees, the importance of equity in an inclusive environment is what defines our community.
Thank you. Next, Armin.
Thank you for your question. My point of view about diversity is like we have to have more people involved in our decision-making process. For that, we have to inform people what are we doing, what was the problems, hear them, and make a decision. Before here, during these 2 years of my studying in GCC, to tell the truth, it's the first time, and this is a presidential election or also vice president's election, that I'm hearing that ASGCC doing some programs. To tell the truth, and it was kind of surprise for me that there are so many programs are running and I don't know about that. So we have to, in order to create diversity, we have to inform people that we have this kind of organization in our GCC and what kind of work we are doing, so more people can be involved in this process. More people, so more diversity. That's my point of view. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, Vanessa.
Thank you for that question. There are different lenses that we can view diversity with. It's not just about ethnicity, it's about age, it's about sexual orientation, it's about socioeconomic status. There are different lenses that we could use and not just those specific ones. When it comes to this, there is no universal view. And if we practice acceptance and usage of these lenses, we, vaqueros, we will be able to understand one another and form a sense of pride in it because we're creating unity despite of our differences. And that's the beauty of the 2020 Vision team. I created a team that is composed of students who I share the same vision with. We embody our vision, and not just vision, but we are planning to take it into actions. 2020 Vision is what we call our team because it is the ability to convey our manifestations into reality. And we want to bring that in the future semesters if we do get elected. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, continuing with the theme of equity, please provide specific examples of what you have done to advance equity at GCC. You will have 90 seconds to respond, and we'll go Armin, Vanessa, and then Garik. Armin, go ahead.
Thank you for your question. To tell the truth, I didn't see during my 2 years of experience in GCC any kind of example of inequity. And sometimes when I hear questions like this, I'm kind of becoming surprised. What's the problem? If there is any problem, maybe I didn't saw, and I am happy with that. What's the problem with inequity? Everybody have the chance to come to GCC, apply for classes, and if somebody wants to do something, they have this chance. what our goal and what we can do for them is do it more affordable and do it more acceptable for them, and give chances that, for example, in this connected to COVID-19, we have problems with, many students have problem with connecting to internet or something like that. We can solve that kind of problem. So we can make more affordable study in GC and more attractive to getting education in GCC. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Armin. Next is Vanessa.
In my prior semester, I've been an advocate for having representation in ASGCC. I've done this through marketing ASGCC as a fresh blank canvas where anyone is welcome to show their true colors and their talents. And that's equity for me. Diversity is also a big part of it, and inclusion as well, because diversity, inclusion, and equity, it plays a big part where diversity is defined as being invited to a party, while inclusion is being asked to a dance. We may have diversity, however, we should be working towards having equity and inclusion by having them connected and have leadership roles as well, welcoming every people in different walks of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Last is Garik.
So far, what I've done for equity and diversity as in AS has been last semester in activities, I co-hosted an LGBTQ plus event. Me and a fellow AS member reached out to the DSPS office at GCC, which we saw was one of the underrepresented groups at GCC, and we contacted them, and we are hosting an event with them this semester or next semester. We have also reached out to other multicultural services and underrepresented student groups to host more events and to get appreciation and get recognition.
Thank you, Garik.
All right, for our next question. Please explain what are the biggest challenges or obstacles faced by students of color at GCC, and what plans do you have to address these challenges? We will start with Vanessa.
I realized that I wasn't the only one who was struggling with the sudden transition, and to call myself a minority. To have a platform such as what I have as a senator, and to be given a platform where I can express myself and my talent, it gives me empowerment and it gives me representation. It makes me feel like I am not alone in this journey. With having that power, it makes me feel that I cannot just only do justice for myself, but as well as the other people who feel underrepresented. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Next, we'll have Garik answer.
One of the biggest challenges are that students do not have enough representation on our campus, and we need that platform to do so. We need a platform where students are comfortable to come out and talk to us and tell us what issues they're having on campus. They don't have that platform. They also do not have enough resources, especially now. Our students, whether of color or of not color, all of our students are in need of, they need to voice their concerns, and they need a safe and comfortable place to do so. We need our community to support one another, especially during a time like this.
Thank you, Garik. Next, we will have Armin answer.
Maybe I will, thank you for a question. Maybe I will be repeated, but to tell the truth, I don't want to distinguish people in color or not in color. That's not my, that's the problem that we have to pass through. We don't have this problem. We have diversity. This country is built in diversity And so we don't have to distinguish this guy is black, this one guy is white, this one is guy is LGBT. I don't know. We don't have to distinguish this kind of things. We have to think. We have person, we have people who studying here. We have to hear them. And doesn't matter if we are doing like this kind of distinguishing and separating this like color, by skin of color, by I don't know. I don't accept that distinguishing people to the categories. We have to think that we have person who we can help, and we are here for help them. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Armin.
What are the biggest challenges or obstacles faced by LGBTQ students at GCC? What plans do you have to address these challenges? You will have 1 minute to speak. I will be starting with Garik.
Once again, I feel like the issues that they have is that GCC is not an open book just yet. GCC needs to be an open book. The students at GCC need to be comfortable to voice their concerns, especially on social media. We need students that are in the LGBT to be comfortable to join us, to be comfortable to have us represent them, to be comfortable to be with us, to share with us. That's the main thing that I believe that it is.
Thank you. Next up, Armin.
Thank you. I guess I talk about that, this problem, but really I don't want to distinguish these guys from LGBT persons or no. So my point of view, everybody is equal. And if somebody chooses to go that way, it's his decision. And I didn't see any legal problem to like accept them. And I don't see anything that preventing them to do anything they want. Everybody have same rights to come, to study, to get anything that everybody like. Everybody have equal chances in this country. This is my point of view. So when we are, as I said, we don't have to separate them. When we are separating them to another category, they also feel bad for that. I can bring my experience. When I came here first time, I saw a girl who is carrying.
Time.
Thank you. Lastly, Vanessa.
Thank you. The LGBTQ plus group and community should have the safe space where they should feel that they belong in. And we do have that in GCC. However, the problem is that we should be starting with ourselves. We should be giving them the environment that they deserve. As an ally myself, I want to encourage them, even if not elected or if elected, to be given the platform and to rise from the occasion. Because I think that with the array of sexual orientations that is in right now, they should be given importance and people should be educated by that. And it starts again with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next question is, what are your plans to support students' basic needs? You will have 1 minute to respond, and we'll start with Armin, then we'll go Vanessa, and then Garik. Armin, go ahead.
Thank you for the question. So first of all, I think that now in this challenging time is to give students more information. Also, I'm thinking about the students who from high school, that we can ask them, introduce our college and invite to our college to continue their education. So we have to inform people. Second is, I think that in this college, there are, in my experience, I saw many problems with enrollment for the classes. There is a problem to find the class that you need because there are some people already took that place. So I want to solve this problem also, so that will give students more chances to be involved in the study process. And also I would like to make
Time.
Thank you, Armin. Moving on to Vanessa.
When it comes to basic needs, everybody in this pandemic during this crisis is being affected. I believe that there should be no exceptions in terms of ethnicity, citizenship status. And one thing that I've been working on as of right now, I've been fortunate enough to be aware of it, is that the emergency fund that we are being given by the government, which is $10 million. And with this, it's unfortunate that non-credit students, international students, undocumented students are being ousted by this emergency fund. And for me, I've been advocating to expand this so that they, with the restrictions and with the limitations of working outside of campus, would be given the basic needs. And I believe that we should be starting with the idea and as well as the vision, then to our actions. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Now, Garik.
Right now, especially, we need to work hard on supplying students who need some things more than others. Our current students are in such a situation that it's left them without enough resources. Non-credit, international, undocumented, they're not able to receive many governmental resources, such as a stimulus check. I work on expanding the AB 540, having more funding for food pantry for the students, hotspots and Chromebooks for students who don't have those basic needs at home. Just getting to students that don't have the resources that some might have.
We will now ask you questions about your specific statements. You'll have 1 minute to respond. Vanessa, in your candidate statement, you said that your goal is to improve the student's college experience in the midst of a crisis. You served as a senator during the last 8 weeks of this crisis, so please provide specific examples of your actions you have taken to improve the student's experience during these 8 weeks.
I'm sorry, can I have the question repeated, please?
Okay, no problem. We will ask questions about your specific candidate statement. You will have 1 minute to respond. Vanessa, in your candidate statement, you said that your goal is to improve the student's college experience in the midst of this crisis. You served as a senator during these last 8 weeks of the crisis, so please provide specific examples of actions you have taken to improve the student's experience during these 8 weeks.
Thank you for that. As I mentioned, I realized that I wasn't the only person struggling in this pandemic. So as a Senator of Relations in ASGCC, I took the initiative to build bridges between the ASGCC and some of the departments and constituents that we have. And in order to establish communication, because that's what we need right now, we need to lessen the confusion and promote more clarity and direction for our students while we try to figure this new system out. Since we are responsible for spreading the word out, I admit that it was pretty difficult to be focusing our job and doing it effectively. However, we rose to the occasion as a committee with my relations committee and my VP, and as well as the help of our advisors in ASGCC.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Gaudik, in your candidate statement, you stated that you have served on numerous governance committees. Please provide us with an example of a specific action you took in governance that resulted in a meaningful change for students at GCC. You will have 1 minute to respond.
While I was on governance review two semesters back, we had an issue that some governances were not meeting, and they were important governances. They were basic skills governances, governances that were talking about specific math departments, English departments, and they were not meeting. So we took the action of getting them going with meeting. We eliminated some other governance committees and we formed a big governance committee that serves to the students now. Those governance committees are being met and they are meeting and they are helping students. That was one of the biggest things that I did in my governance committees. And they are meeting now and they are a necessity for students.
Thank you, Garik. Next question is for Armin. In your candidate statement, you said that your goal is to make the ASGCC work for students, but not just exist. Are you saying that the ASGCC currently does not work for students? If so, what specifically will you do differently?
Thank you. I don't want to say that they are not working. I think that I already told that we don't inform that we have this kind of organization. To tell the truth, last year there was a vice president election. First time I went to there and know that this kind of organization exists. So that's the reason I say that we have to inform people that we have this organization, and this one is really have to work for students. They are gonna be the voice there, as I mentioned. We have to be their students' voice to administration. So I'm gonna work for every student in our college and raise their voice, ask their questions to administration, the ones that really will be helpful for them to be successful in college and their future lives. Thank you.
We'll now be moving on to the topic of ASGCC finances. The ASGCC revenue is tied to the number of students enrolled at the college. What will you do as president and student trustee to reduce the number of students that drop out of GCC? For this question, you have 90 seconds. We'll start with Garik.
As a student, a huge part of GCC is paying my tuition. I personally do not receive financial aid, and even though I don't receive financial aid, it is not the easiest thing to keep up with my tuition. And I can't even begin to imagine what tuition is like for international students. Tuition, books, being able to buy a computer to do your classes, not having the resources. These are the things that when I imagine these things, it hurts my heart. And these are the things that I tackle, and there's so many bigger issues that other students have to tackle. And I think the biggest thing that needs to be funded at GCC is resources for students, whether that be books, whether that be computers, whether that be hotspots. I also think that the mental health should be more aware. People should be more aware about mental health illnesses, and we should fund to get a service like that on campus. And those are the main things.
Thank you, Garik. We'll be going to Armin next.
Thank you. I guess if we want to solve any problem, we have to understand from where the problem is coming. So we have to, in my opinion, we have to make a kind of survey to understand why some people, if they have dropped the classes or they dropped the school, why they did that. It's really can be issues with the resources as internet connection, laptops, or something like that. We have to understand the problem and we can provide a solution. like now GCC providing computers, laptops. Also, there are, I hear that CalWorks doing have agreement with some internet companies that did reducing their prices for students. So by understanding the problem, we are able to solve that problem as much as we can, because there are some problems that higher solution, like requiring to hire solution. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Vanessa.
Thank you. As of with finances and as of with the current situation that we are in right now, I think that we should be putting our efforts on the vaqueros. We should be designating this to what currently impacts them. And I think that we should be allocating funds towards scholarships and or services and resources that vaqueros, such as most of the people in this webinar, are in need of. With this uncertainty, we need to show students that we will do whatever as a student government and as a college as a whole that we will do to support them. And that also includes the basic needs, because without it, how could we show them and how could they be supplemented into pursuing their education and being at home doing the learning system virtually.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Do you believe that the current ASGCC budget represents the goals that you have for the organization? Why or why not? You will have 1 minute to respond. I will begin with Armin.
I think I can't answer to this question entirely because I didn't know what they done during this time. So it will be not realistically and true to blame or tell if they make everything great. So, but I think if they did something, they have to be more open to all, and they need to be more in public, so more people will be informed about their goals and their jobs and their what they have done. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Vanessa.
Yes, I do believe in that in a sense, because finance, money that we do get from students, the activity fees that we charge them, it's the thing that defines our priorities if we do it right, and it shows what we value most. And I think that it says a lot about the association.
Thank you. And lastly, Karik.
I think the budget needs to be adjusted to accommodate students during the pandemic. Right now, our budget is completely, it's way off. I mean, we're budgeting at athletics, and athletics is one of the huge things that we're budgeting, but we don't know how long we're going to be in the pandemic. And I believe that we should definitely accommodate our budget to be more helpful with the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next question. The needs of the college change over time. What does the ASGCC budget currently fund that you believe they should either reduce or eliminate, and why? You will have 1 minute to respond, and we'll start with Vanessa.
One thing that I think, well, one of the things that ASGCC funds as of right now is the CPS that we do annually. When it comes to funding programs, departments, and constituents, and even such as the CPS, we should be thinking whether this should be beneficial even up until now. And I think the program itself cannot be utilized because everything is virtual. And we have to think if it could give supplements to the association and even in the college. So I think that CPS should be lessened with the funds, or at least given consideration to be eliminated. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Next is Garik.
Since the pandemic started, we've already sort of reduced our budget in the sense of we are spending less money on events, our own events. For the budget, I believe that we should reduce money for physical GCC campus things. Certain physical things like athletics could be reduced, or the Vaquero paper could be reduced. But doing this, we should also increase food pantry, create emergency funding on a budget. But I believe the things that are more physical and more on campus, more hands-on things should be reduced from the budget since they are not being used right now. But they should not be reduced in the long run because those are things that make GCC community what GCC community is. Making sure the areas we have reduced have funding to be still available in the future.
Thank you, Garik. Next is Armin.
Thank you. I think we have to be very flexible, and during especially this kind of times of pandemic. So if we know that we don't have to be physically in campus and all is in virtual, we have to think to buy or use the programs or make decisions to more accepted the events that can be done online. For example, I can say that in my biology classes we start to use online labs, and there is a very good program that our instructor find. It can be like spread to another classes, so that every student can be take part of these labs. So I think that we have to be flexible and find solution like in our instructor, and more found this
time.
For our next question, the president of the ASGCC also serves on the board of trustees as the student trustee. At most community colleges, there are different positions, but at GCC, it's the same person. From your understanding, besides going to the board of trustee meetings, what are the specific responsibilities of the student trustee? You have 1 minute to respond. We'll start with Garik.
I think the responsibilities of the president is to represent the students of GCC and get to their needs, to make GCC a comfortable place for students to feel safe, to make students feel like they are at a home away from home, to make GCC an open book, to be the face of GCC, to make students feel welcomed, to make students feel that even though they are not a senator or a vice president or a president, that they are still a part of ASGCC and their voice matters so much, and that we live off of their voices and we are there to support them and to be with them.
Thank you, Garik. I'll be reading you the question once more. The president of the ASGCC also serves on the board of trustee as the student trustee. Most community colleges, they're different, but at GCC, they're the same. So from your understanding, besides going to the board of trustee meetings, what are the specific responsibilities of the student trustee? And then Armin, you can go ahead.
Thank you. I believe that we, as a presidents, we have to understand the needs of students and the problems of students. So by hearing the voices of the students, we can be their representative to the administration to make solutions that gonna help them to be successful. I am the one who ready to hear to everybody and help them to reach their goals, to make more comfortable being in GCC. As Garik mentioned, we have to feel like in our houses, and we'll be comfortable and we'll be happy to be in GCC. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Armin. We'll now go to Vanessa.
As of the ASGCC president and student trustees role, aside from what you said, Royce, I do know that they have to be a spokesperson for the college, and they would have to represent the college for the statewide and national officers and as well as the organizations. But one thing that I do know, and I saw this from our current president, Sune Agapin, is that she paved the way to students, and she set an good example, which made us very inspired to do what we love and being passionate about serving other people. And that's all.
Thank you, Vanessa.
What issues will you specifically advocate for during Board of Trustees meetings? You will have 1 minute to respond. I will begin with Armin.
Thank you. As I mentioned, first of all, I will raise the question about the enrollment problems, because that's a really problem that people want to take classes, but sometimes the class is closed, so they are losing time for that. Another question I would like to raise to administration about the grading system. All the instructors are different, and I accept that difference and diversity, but sometimes it's really challenging for students to find the instructor as they're thinking they're going to be pass that class more easily. So we have to do kind of grading system, kind of systematic, so everybody will think that they're going to get the same chances to get to be more successful. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Vanessa.
One of the things I would bring up to the administration committee is that, again, the basic needs, because I've already taken my platform as a member of ASGCC, and to have them support us into taking a stance of making sure that students, vaqueros, in this pandemic is being supported of. And that would be, again, with the resources that we have, making sure that it's accessible to everybody, and making sure that everybody feels like they are part of a family and they could be able to supplement themselves in order to successfully pursue their education in GCC.
Thank you. And lastly, Karik.
One thing that I will advocate for, whether we're on or off campus, is tuition for students that live in California, tuition for students that are international students, tuitions, basic needs, student resources. Biggest thing I want to advocate for is to use low cost or zero cost textbook at school, which is going through right now. But I believe that our student tuition for our international students, for our undocumented students, to make education something that's not inaccessible if you don't have the funding to do so. I want to make GCC, the education to receive at GCC, something that everyone can be a part of. That's the biggest thing that I will advocate for.
Thank you, Karik. To date, have you attended any GCC Board of Trustee meetings? If so, when was it, and what did you learn from the meeting about your position? If you haven't attended, why should the voters trust you have an understanding of the position that you were running for? You will have 45 seconds to respond, and I'll start with you, Karik.
I have not attended a Board of Trustees meeting, but the GCC students should trust me to be their president and student trustee because of my experience, because of the passion that I have for this campus. Although I have not been to a Board of Trustees a Board of Trustees meeting, I have been in constant contact with my current president and the president before her. And I have heard their experiences. I have heard what they've been through and what they advocated for. And I want to not only. Fine.
Thank you, Garik. Now moving on to Vanessa.
Thank you. I have not been to any board of trustee meeting, but I think the reason why people should trust me, it's because I might not have a lot of experience, but I know that the passion that I put into in my work, the heart that I put into my work, into serving the people, and I do get those. I do get those from talking to people, having a one-on-one conversation with a fellow vaquero, an ordinary student, knowing their concerns, tending to those needs, and bringing those up to our organization and our association, ASGCC. From there, I hope that I would get their trust because I care for them. And
Time.
Thank you, Vanessa. Lastly, we have Armin.
Thank you. I also didn't attend to any meeting of the trustees. So, but what I think that this is the first time I think that I felt that power that I can go beyond myself, to solving my problems and go to solve problems of other students. That's coming from our experience in studying in GCC. Sometimes that's bad experience, unfortunately, but I'm ready to help everybody who's going to trust me and vote for me. That's it. Thank
you. Each year, the president builds on the past. That is how the organization has continued to evolve and grow. If elected, what would you do differently than me? You will have 1 minute to respond, and I will begin with Armin.
As I said, I want to make more public our work so many people can know about our goals, our problems, and what kind of problems we are trying to solve. If we know people that informed, also we can say that they are protected, so they can at least ask for help or to be heard from us, so we can pass their problems to administration and solve that. That's what I will change. Maybe make more public in public our ASGCC work. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Karik.
I've learned from previous president and more from you, Suna. I want to continue your vision. Your vision of how to change GCC as a whole has been clear to me when I would help campaign for you last year. You are the ideal president for GCC, and continuing your legacy, continuing your vision is an honor, and I hope to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Lastly, Vanessa.
I plan to use the successes that you've already given and the administrations before me as a president to translate that and implement something better. I want to bring it in light and use it to improve and adapt to our current situation right now. One thing I'll be focusing on if I do get elected is to have my advocacy and continue the good advocacies that were given before. I want to have senators who mirrors the GCC population for them to be effectively part of GCC and make sure that GCC is being catered for.
Thank you.
We'll now on to under 1 minute. How would you describe your leadership style? Garg, you can begin.
My leadership style is in a family-based style. It's inclusive, it's passionate. Me and my team, me and the senators of AS when I am president, we are gonna be one as a community. We are gonna be one as a community at GCC. We're going to be professional. That's how I consider my leadership to be.
Thank you, Garik. Vanessa, you may now answer.
For me, a leader does not walk ahead of you, but alongside you. It's not about intimidating others, but inspiring them. I believe that teamwork as well is a big factor of the foundation of success. We as a team experience highs and lows, and as well as the senators, if we do get elected. In order to solve a problem, we do it as a unit, and we do everything as a unit with consensus.
Thank you, Vanessa. Armin, you.
Thank you for question. My style of leadership, I think every leader have to be able to hear his who is around him and make a decision. My leadership is I think to be able to distinguish from what you hear from all around, make a good decision according to the needs of the students. Do the best for everybody, not for one or two people. That's my leadership. Be responsible, be able to be responsible for your decision. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Armin.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question. So considering what each of you just mentioned about your leadership styles, if the campus continues to remain in a virtual environment during the fall 2020 semester, how will you change your leadership style to succeed in this environment? You'll have 45 seconds to respond, and we will start with Vanessa.
And from experience with the pandemic happening, as a senator even, it's been very difficult to transition as a student and to think as a student leader. A lot of people are relying to ASGCC. And one thing that I would want to change and want to adapt to is making sure that students, clubs, organizations, student equity communities are being tended to by having conversations. Even though it might scale to uncomfortable conversations, we must have these in order to have acceptance, and we should be creating more of these so that we create a unity, and GCC should be like that.
Thank you, Vanessa. Moving on to Garik.
I have already adapted to the online AS and online GCC community. What I will do is raise my expectations of my team and do events and make a larger community online, the same community online as there is in person. We have already, me and my team, created a large community in less than 2 days, and we have received such amazing feedback. And I want to implement this work, this hustle into GCC's everyday, online, on campus life.
Thank you, Garik. Now we have Armin.
The question was like, how we are going to change our leadership style. I'm not going to change my leadership style. Most of the time I took online classes, so it's normal for me to be in this environment. So I'm not changing my leadership style. So I will, as I said, it's actually the opportunity to involve more people. If you are everything doing online, it's an opportunity to reach to much more people than before. So I will start to work in this position by involving more people. That's it. Thank you.
As president, I have to hold the VPs accountable. This can sometimes be challenging because of the friendships you form with the VPs. Please provide us with a specific example of a time you held a friend accountable for their behavior. You will have 90 seconds to respond. I will begin with Armin.
Thank you. It's important to be a good friend, but good friend will not put you in a situation when you have to be ashamed because what you have done. So I don't think that we have to be if somebody from your friends did something wrong. So you have to talk to him in straightly, looking in his eyes. And nobody, if he's a good friend, he's not gonna stop his relationship with you. So everybody have to be honest, look at the problem, talk about the problem and solve that. There is no any problem for me to tell the truth to my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Vanessa.
Thank you. One example would be having a friend of mine in the same work or employment place that I've been in. And one thing that I've practiced this is through having them accountable and making them own up to their mistakes. Since we are in a professional setting, we should be able to differentiate and differentiate the professional relationship and as well as our friendship, because what is at stake is not just our friendship, but as well as the ethics that we bring in and the work that we are being relied on and being employed for. So this is an example for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, Garik.
Being in AS for 3 semesters, I've made a lot of friends, so many friends that I can't even list them on a piece of paper. And working alongside these individuals was a feeling that I cannot get from any other place. And obviously, with these circumstances, there is also going to be issues. There is also going to be problems that both I would face and those individuals would face. And the way we would execute these problems would be, we are not afraid to put each other on check. We are not afraid to let one another know that there is an issue, there is a problem. And it has happened that in AS, a friend of mine in AS has been lacking in a certain thing, that I have taken it upon myself to tell them that there is a problem and they need to fix that problem.
Thank you.
No person can always be successful. Please provide us an example of a time that you failed. What did you learn from that failure? You have 45 seconds to answer this question. We will start with Garik.
Of course, there's situations there that you might fail in. A situation of mine that I failed, I have to think about that one. A situation of mine that I failed was there in the beginning of my GCC career. I set a goal for myself, and that goal, I didn't do that goal. I failed at doing that goal, and that did not discourage me. It just made me work harder and get to what I got to. My original goal was met, even though I failed the first time doing it.
Thank you, Garik. Next, we'll have Armin answer.
Thank you for question. What I'm thinking about failures, so in my experience and in my mind, I'm thinking that any failure is just strengthening the person. Any failure, if that person have ability to think mindfully, so he's gonna be stronger. He's gonna stand in the 2 feet and start to solve the problems because of what he failed. So any problem is gonna be is gonna give a strength to me. So I'm not afraid to failure, but I want to be also successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Armin. Lastly, we'll have.
Failure is part of life. We, as humans, we mistakes. We're only humans. And with failure, we should be taking this as a lesson for us to avoid in the future so that we don't have to do the same thing again and regret again. And this is an opportunity to grow as a person. And this is an opportunity to influence other people as well who are going through the same situation. And we should be using this as a precedent to better ourselves and motivate ourselves to be better versions and become the best that we can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Next question. Leadership requires you recognizing your strengths and the strengths of others. If you decided to drop out of this race, which of the other two candidates left would you vote for? And please take 90 full seconds to tell the audience what strengths they would bring to the ASGCC and why they should vote for them. Again, please take 90 full seconds to respond. We'll start with Vanessa.
If that is the circumstance, I will fully accept it, and I will lift my chin up, and given the situation, I will endeavor it. With the two candidates, I cannot say anything because I do believe that they both are great candidates and they stand for great things and they say great things, and I believe that they could bring it into action. And what I can only say is that the voices of the vaqueros, my fellow vaqueros, your fellow vaqueros, is what matters in this, because they have their own needs, and those needs to be met, and they will be deciding for themselves. And I think that whoever wins, it would be such an honor as well to be working alongside you, to have the same vision, or if you do have the same vision, to better the lives of vaqueros. And that's all.
Thank you, Vanessa. Next is Garik.
Did you guys call on me? I couldn't, it cut off. What's that mean? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that, it cut off. But in an unfortunate circumstance like that, I would totally accept it. And I don't know who I would vote for. I do believe that we all are amazing candidates. I believe we all have similar visions. Vanessa was once, we still are fellow GCC, ASGCC senators together. And I personally think that this election shouldn't make us distant or not friends anymore. But I do believe that both of the candidates next to me, Vanessa and Armen, do have the right push for it, and they do both want similar things as I do. So me choosing who I would vote for is a very hard decision, but I know that they both have a drive that is like no other, and I do hope that we all have a chance to run, and a good luck to everyone. I believe we can all change GCC together.
Thank you, Garik. Just to repeat the question, leadership requires you recognizing your strengths and the strengths of others. If you decided to drop out of this race, which of the other two candidates left would you vote for? And please take 90 full seconds to tell the audience what strengths they would bring to the ASGCC and why they should vote for them. Armen, you have 90 seconds to respond.
Thank you. In the circumstances that I will not go for presidency, I see that both candidates that will run for that are very experienced. I like them and their point of view. So I will be very calm and accept any of them. I'm not gonna vote for anybody or give preferences, because I see that they both have the passion to be leader, to be a president. So just do what you are thinking, do the way that you are thinking. But what I will expecting from you, if you will go for presidency and not me, so I'm expecting that you will be more open this environment to and involve more students. That's what I will wish you to do for during your presidency. Yeah. Otherwise, you both have experience. You have knowledge, maybe more than me in this environment in ASGCC. But if in case I will not run, so you have all the strengths that will help you for your career. Thank you.
Thank you for answering our questions. You will now have 2 minutes to provide a closing statement to tell voters one last time why they should vote for you. We'll start with Garik.
Thank you for this opportunity, everyone, and thank you to everyone that came out and listened to us. And I want you guys to know that when I am elected president, I am going to be advocating for everything that you guys want. I am going to be voicing your concerns. I am going to give each and every one of you a home away from home, a place where you feel comfortable, somewhere that you can voice your concerns and there is no one to judge you, somewhere you feel comfortable. I want you all to vote for me, because a vote for me is a vote for experience, equity, and quality. I will make GCC an open book, and we will be GCC together as one, as a big community together.
Thank you, Garik. Armin, you may now have a close.
First of all, I want to thank everybody that for this opportunity to be at least candidate for this presidency elections. I want to thank this country that give this opportunity and diversity, and to become a student first of all of GCC, then have a chance to run for presidency of GCC. Why I'm thinking that I can be a good president? Because as a student who is studying here more than 2 years, I know many problems that we can solve. I saw that the candidates raised the questions about inequity and diversity. I think everybody have the chance to say a word, but not everybody know where to say and who to say. So we have to give them the right address, and I'm going to give them the address. They can come, talk, and try to get a solution. So that's why I'm going for presidency, and I'm asking to vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Armin. Vanessa, you may now provide a closing statement.
As for my closing statement, I want to take this time first to thank my team, Elise, Emily, Noah, Annabelle, and Naya, for giving me a sense of being a president. For the past few months, we created a team, came together, shared a vision, whether we win or not. I do know that you guys have the same intention, and that is for making our lives and other vaqueros as well. But why vote for me? Why? Because I'm right here in front of you, daring to be vulnerable, expressing my hopes and passions, because I'm fighting for a bigger purpose that affects hundreds, if not thousands, of students. Because I found my purpose through GCC, and I want to give back and provide the same opportunity. You should vote for me, because even though I can promise perfection, utopia, what I can promise you and my team is that I will give my 110% and my heart into.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. That concludes tonight's forum and debate. I just want to thank all the candidates for sharing their platforms and addressing student concerns tonight, even given the time constraints for each question. To our attendees, thank you so much for joining us today. Remember that voting begins this weekend and will be open from May 17th to May 23rd. All those that are eligible to vote will be sent a ballot to their GCC student email addresses. I also want to announce that we have published our constitutional amendments on our website under the About tab and then governing documents, which you all will be voting for along with voting for candidates. So if you made the time to come out tonight, again, please take 5 minutes to vote this weekend. For more information on how to vote, please visit our website at glendale.edu/AS and keep up to date with our Instagram stories at as.gcc. To enter tonight's raffle for a $50 gift card, please send your student email in the chat before you sign off. Thanks again and have a great night, everyone.